just a jealousy and so on. The second thing on that one I wanted to say, we are the one who pushed them to come to Nevasha. Our idea was Gilgil or Nakuru, but for political reasons. If we had not done that one, you would have greed of traffic in Nairobi, because the ICD in Nairobi would have clogged up all the roads in industrial areas and so on. So some of us were the parties to pushing the government, Kenyatta's government, to take it outside Nairobi. The other thing we did, and I think I'll stop after that, there are lots of beautiful points. Previous to that one, when the government gave a contract on any project, they signed it blindly, they write 2 billion, 3 billion to suppliers. We managed to push and change the government to include local content. And now, every contract that's given out should have 35% local added value, local value. What it has done, some of the things we do, it doesn't come to us, but it transforms. Today, Kenya can produce international standard of steel, international standard of cement, international standard of paint, and so on, because now the Chinese or whoever it is has to make sure 35% content is there. A lot of it is labor, transportation, wood, etc. But now they've realized even the steel and others. And lastly, when you want to compete to supply the Chinese and so on, you have to be cost effective. One company I know in steel has brought in Chinese super consultants to make sure that not only make quality of Chinese standard, which in turn is as good as the German standard, but also the cost. So he's reaping the benefit of it now. But I'll stop over there. Some of the learnings. I do apologize, Arun, but you opened up box of Pandora on my experiences and learning. And 1 minute before, I want to thank a few people. Clinton, they will realize that it isn't big enough. Okay, but I can talk for a few more. Lastly, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Anne and Clinton, for helping me make it. I made a very simple one, but I want to thank all of you for listening to me. I don't know whether I'll get a chance again or not, but it gave me a chance to share some of my experiences and so on. I still have notes on if you were to go into family business, how you should, irrespective of who you're going in partnership, how you should go about. Don't think, put it on, or just have words, put it in shareholders agreement, partnership. Those are big some points in there. And then I've got a lot of things to talk about, finance cost, how we Africans are keeping Africa poor by a very high interest rate. When Europe and America have interest rates, used to have interest of 0.5%, 1%, 2%, 3%, PTA wanted 16%, 18% on dollars because it was African project. Banks here wanted 13%, 14% because it was Africa. We African bankers are keeping our continent from becoming competitive. Okay, that's why when Ruto said his dream is to have 10% on treasury bill, I was happy, because otherwise I become lazy, investing in my treasury bonds and bills. I'm not investing in stocks and shares, I'm not investing in my property, I'm not investing in my business, because I have no sweat. But that's not how the economy of the country can grow. I apologize. Thank you, Natubai. A lot of fun memories. You have played a lot of role in my life. Similarly, kids, I hope you got something to remember. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, awesome. I'll need your help because there'll be questions. We'll take 3 the 3 questions. We'll just do these questions in 2 rounds. Now, from everybody, show of hands, who got a good lesson from today's session? Let me see. You have something to take home, right? So, can we give him a really big hand? Yeah, every time he's talking and saying that somebody did not pay him, I, in my mind, had $2 million. And then he goes and says, there was $7 million left in Tanzania and he could not collect it because Saba Saba meant that everything becomes Tanzania's and not the East African community. Like, how do you recover from that? And yet here he is still standing. And as if that's not enough, in Rwanda he lost, in Congo you lost how much money? Congo. Yeah, several million. So we're talking money out there almost as much as 10 million. I was counting and I'm like,
that's why my wife is using second.
Okay. That's where all your car money went, Vila. Now, we're taking 3 questions. Who has a question? Okay, I should have asked who doesn't have a question. Okay, I have a question for you, Ila. We are recording this. It's a lot to go through in a family. You come, you met in the UK and you came back, and when you're thinking you're getting settled, it's the business getting split, it's banks calling to us for their money. It's how do you keep, in 2 minutes, how do you keep sane? And how do you keep the family together, that something overrides all of the turmoil that, you know, the business is going through? So I'll take that as your question, and then 2 more questions. 1 here, 1 here. You have the mic, go. 1 question.
My question is, from your presentation, you have unstoppable force which has transformed the business. Any advice that you can give to the family that is struggling with the conflict of interest? Can the introduction of strategic business unit be a long-lasting solution? Thank you.
Did you get that, Arun? Shorten it and repeat it again.
From your presentation, you have unstoppable force which has transformed the business into profit.
Yeah.
Any advice that you can give to the family business that is struggling with the conflict of interest? Can the introduction of strategic business unit be a long-lasting solution?
Okay, I think I got that. You went from a business that was struggling, and it's a family business. Introducing a strategic investor, is that it?
Strategic business units.
Strategic business units, would that help? So that's question number 2. The first one was for Ila. We need 1 more question. I'm keeping tabs here. You have?
Yeah, Mr. Arun, thank you very much. No, it's Mr. Devani. You know, your story. Your story can be very much like the development of Kenya in business. We had an exciting decade between 1970 to 80 of industrialization, where the level of industrialization and contribution by industry manufacturing was going up. And then it froze and even went down. What can you attribute to our actually industrialization? We were doing much better then than we have done after that in growing manufacturing.
Thank you. You got that, Arun? So I'll start with Ila. It's the family, it's keeping it together and still staying sane and beautiful. So how do you do it?
Basically, I think what happened is when we decided to get married and I gave up my career, my profession, the thing that I had to fall back on was family. And I decided that my family is going to take precedence over anything else. So any decision I made was to keep the family together and to make sure that it was for the best of our own interest. And as a result, we stuck to each other in thick and thin. That was basically the guiding principle. And another thing that has kept Arun motivated, and he always sings about it, that he works hard to make his wife's to meet his wife's expenses, which really is nothing. And I've not seen the billions, by the way, Irene. Sadly, I hope the KRA doesn't run after him now for his billions that he's not paid for. But family was my first choice. It was a concerted effort, decision I had made, that any decision that I have to make, I'll put the family first. And that is the guiding principle. And how you perceive life. Nobody's life is ever going to be a straight graph. It's always going to be up and down. You have to sail through it. If it's a straight graph, your heartbeat is not there. So it's something that you have to...
A big hand. So Arun, the young man asked about introducing strategic units to get a business from where it is if it's struggling and getting it over the hurdle to profit making. What do you think? Maybe what we should be asking is three key strategies that got you from where you were struggling, losing 7 million, to seeing yourself on the other side.
Arun, I'm going to answer that as a second question, because question the gentleman asked. You know, to get independence, we had Mama, who fought for political freedom. Consciously or unconsciously, starting from Kenyatta's time onwards, there were people before me, and I joined them later on. We became a silent economic freedom fighter. It wasn't honky-dory in Kenyatta's time. There was Mr. 10%. There was Dr. Kiano, Dr. Kishuru. There were licensing requirements for every little thing. You wanted to make a product, there was a licensing requirement. Coffee farms were overnight taken over by the royal family. So it wasn't honky-dory. There were too many barriers, unlevel playing fields and so on. Some of it is trashed in Moi's time. And the economic freedom fighters, there were Chamber of Commerce, but I think KM became the strong one, but there was also the Law Society of Kenya and so on. Gradually started chipping into the barriers. And this is why you have two or three barometers like cost of doing business, ease of doing business, and few other indicators that were created. And there are quite a few. If we had carried on, I would have come across that one, serious barriers and so on. So what you see now, some serious industries, growth and so on, is organizations like KM, CAPSA and others becoming proactive and giving ideas to the government how to reduce the bureaucracy, barriers, and so on. If you remember, and I'm sure you remember, can you remember the days when you were paying 65% personal corporate tax? Can you remember, Mahmoud, you might remember, if you paid corporate tax, personal tax, you gave out approximately 95%. You remember those days? Okay. So each of us in this room as a business community became an economic freedom fighter. And you can take a number of examples. I mean, the way Juakali people were harassed and so on, now they have been given a new platform and they're listening. Similarly, agriculture. Similarly, manufacturers, fishermen. Now we have gradually come to a stage where those barriers are being broken down to make it free economy. We are not there, but we are moving in the right direction. And some of the things some of us expected and predicted before the new constitution came down, was first being discussed, is it would take us 2, maybe three terms before people like you realize your individual power and ask questions. Where we have gone wrong, if you were to ask me in one nutshell, is you will see me committing a crime and you'll keep your mouth shut. You will see a pothole on the road, but you will never write to city council. You will complain among yourselves that I've seen potholes. I've got traffic lights not working. We complain. We don't do anything about it. The day each of us, either as an individual, ask questions on our civil right or business right, we will start booming. This is what happens in now well-developed country. They'll ask the councillor, why? Why is this not working? Why is it, how come you have a new Mercedes-Benz? The day we can, and really I've been very vocal in a number of cases, nobody has shot me. There were times, and some of my friends know, and Nattu, if he's still listening, he knows, and I had a great friend in Kelikilu and so on. They were worried I would be locked up by Kibaki because I went after the violence, and I said, peace of my mind. I'd taken a delegation of 40 people. People had come back from England. And when we finished, he took me on the side in front of, that's the first time somebody talked logically to me, thank you, Devani, all right? But I was hard, and the fear was I would be locked up. But we do not speak our mind. So let's remove these barriers. There are indicators which tells you whether you are going in the right direction or not. And we will all on equal footing benefit. Now, your question was on business which is not doing well, etc. There are simple analysis first you have to do before anything. Life has not been honky-donkey. Okay. Further up in my slides, there were black markers over the baseline. I don't know if you saw it or not, and I was going to talk about it, but I take too long to say. There is a leakage in your company. My growth has been restricted. I'll give you a simple example. 5.5 years ago, something happened and we discovered my financial controller was a Kenyan, my sales manager was a Kenyan, my purchaser manageress was a Kenyan, and a distributor. For 7 years, very systematically, they had created a parallel ERP system and robbing us. From 2004 and 2007, and he was an Asian financial controller, he became a gambler, and he was stealing, and because he was in charge of balancing the books and so on, for 4 years, 3.5 years, we couldn't find out. We were always liquidity problem. He was siphoning off dollars from the company. Okay? So, first thing you have to look at, any business in Kenya which is losing money is, do you have a leakage? Forget about everything else. All right? Second thing you look at is, it's not difficult to have a ballpark figure whether you're making profit or not. Theoretically. So most of us will not start manufacturing business. If you have a product which is branded and so on, then you make sure the cost of sales is not more than 30%. Margin is 70, but then you're spending 25, 30% on the marketing. But someone like what I'm manufacturing, commodity, I make sure that my cost of sales is almost 80%, 79, 80%. But I know there is still a profit doable. I'm not saying actually you are making. That is what you convince yourself first. There are one or two businesses, and I know of it. The borrowing and others is such that it doesn't matter how hard they work, they are not going to make profit because the finance cost is just chewing up everything they're going to make. And that's when you simply do what I've done in my life, a couple of businesses, cut your losses and look at something else that will generate the profit. But if you think it has got a margin after, and you know the distribution cost and the giving out on credit cost, and there's still margin, then you can pursue and then start looking at, as I said, there are 4 or 5 factors. You look at it, you will find you turn it around. Okay, and 90% of the time is the pilferage, stealing that kills our businesses.
So that we finish at exactly 1:15, because that's when we're having pizza. So I'll go, you go first.
Thank you very much. I will just summarize some of the lessons learned today in 3 points, which the first one was to grow your employees fairly and wisely. The same goes to the company utilities, and to surround yourself with people who bring you up. So you have to be involved in the community and in the community groups. I have 2 simple questions. The first one is, what one word would you use to describe where you are and what you have accomplished? And what is your definition of success? Thank you.
This side.
Mr. Devani, I have a question for you. Currently a young startup founder, and I'm into the B2B.
Why don't you come in front and say, I've got a hearing challenge, so please, the microphone, please.
Okay, Mr. Devani, Mativo, currently a young startup founder in B2B. Following the prospects of your business, I use the word that you've just commonly used, the billionaire. I've seen that you're in a space of monopoly and dominance in big markets. There is a question, how would you actually make the advice about growth versus EBIT on a step of taking over markets? So I want to know the division between growth and EBIT. How do you maximize profits? Is it wise to first scale on growth and then maximize on profits later? Or rather, is it to combine the two, growth versus EBIT?
The question was,
What is success? What is success? Just to be able to drive a Porsche, a Mercedes and live comfortably. Success is when, I'm 77 years of age, so I'm talking as Arun Devani now. What are my successes? And I started by calling it Red Ocean, because those of you know this, the famous book which says you can have a red ocean strategy or the blue ocean strategy. To me, success is whatever I have sailed through, I'm able to leave not necessarily comfortably, but happily. I have friends, I have hobby, I have people I can call upon, and I have, most important, family which we've been able to, I'm blessed, we've been able to hold on. Because you can have, was it Steve Jobs, died a billionaire, but not even having his wife around when he died, okay? Or visiting in the hospital. So what is happiness? Happiness is basically state of mind, but not necessarily having money in the account, but being able to enjoy your karogas, or being able to go to your Rotary Club and laugh out, and you know it's a genuine friendship and fellowship. Money, we in our culture, there is a saying, and I'll say it in first our culture and then try and translate it. Money is something you have. Okay, let me do it in English a little bit better. A year ago, if you were a businessman, an industrialist in Germany, doing billions of euros worth of business and making profit, and today, because of the energy cost from Russia, if they want the energy and they need energy, you go into receivership. Okay? So business or money is not guaranteed to be with you. Something can happen. I may have properties, but tomorrow if there's a crash in the price of the property because the interest rates have gone up, that's gone. But what is your true wealth? True wealth is when, in all these journeys, you have done something which is not just for yourself, and it has given you pleasure, and it's giving you pleasure in future. And one of the many things which I didn't get a chance to say is I divided my life very approximately into 25% compartments. 25% of my time was just working for business. 25% of my time I have worked for my family, whether it was a family business, whether it was my wife, my children, taking them for holiday, and a number of things, okay, making sure they get education and so on, 25% of the time, directly or indirectly, have I done it not for my family, not for my business, not for myself, which is I try to get involved in lobby groups, I try to get involved in Rotary charities, there are a few other charities and so on. If you're able to help someone, or not necessarily help, but talk to someone or somebody talks to you, right. But 25%, I've saved it for myself. If I enjoy Karoga, if I enjoy golf, if I enjoy reading a book, if I enjoy reading a program, or I want to sleep, I divided my life approximately in those five. And that, to me, has been my success and given me a lot of pleasure. I've had time to read, I've time to watch programs on the TV, which, the soap opera I won't give you. And I could join with some of my friends and go and do the karogas or play golf. I'm a lousy golfer, but I enjoy it. So that is my success.